as a New Zealander. I arrived here 34 years ago, September 16, 1976. And not only that, I began my 35th year as a Wellingtonian, because I have lived here virtually my entire life. I came here a few days shy of my 4th birthday. And I remember it well, and I have one of these freaky memories. Actually, it goes back to when I moved to Walk the evening before. But this area means a great deal to me. Both Mount Victoria and Mount Cook. It's actually quite interesting because I went to St. Mark's Church School a few blocks away. And I was there from 77 to 85. I was stuck. And of course, we didn't have manual classes, so we went to Mount Cook School too. So these two communities mean a great deal to me. But let me tell you a little bit about what I did after St. Mark's. I think it's a little bit more important for the narrative. Rongotai College and Scots, perhaps like Mr. Mansell, I don't come from money. My parents between them made $160 a week. So I'm very cognizant, of course, of what it's like to struggle and be a very lucky person to be standing here today. Victoria University, law degree, honours in business, master in commerce. And I started my own businesses. Now, we all use fonts on computers these days. It's, common currency really. And we accept that fonts come from all over the world. But in fact, when I started in the industry, fonts didn't come from New Zealand. They can't. We accept that here in New Zealand as well as the truth. We just import all of that. Well, what a load of cobblers, why? I went to see Mr. Joe Churchwood, who is, I call the father of New Zealand typists, living over in Hataitai. And unfortunately,
he lived in Levy Street.
He did used to live in Levy Street.
Yeah, just around the corner.
I went to Mr. Churchwood's office, and on the door was, Churchwood International Typefaces has closed. I missed them by 1 week. I thought if I can't develop typefaces through Mr. Churchwood, I would do them myself. And I bought the software. And if you like, I created that history. Many of my colleagues have actually sat in my living room saying, Jack, I'm interested in this, how do I get on with it? The next thing I did was create an online fashion magazine called Wichere, not because I was that into fashion, but because I wanted meritorious coverage. That fruity and starfish deserved to be covered alongside Weldon's and BZ and so forth. And I'd like to think maybe I changed that industry a little bit too in the 1990s. At a time when people said, who's going to read magazines on the internet? How silly is that? But we branched into print, and now it's published in three countries, Thailand, New Zealand, and Qatar is the one. We had one in Romania. But that, again, was proof that you could do that in Wellington. That Wellington, indeed, was the centre of the world when it comes to publishing. And I'm arrogant enough to say that, but I'm proud enough to say that. You don't have to be in New York, you don't have to be in Paris, because we are in an interconnected world. And the Medinger Group, which I joined, I now serve on the board of directors. It is a humanistic think tank dealing with social responsibility and transparency in Sweden. And I've worked on that for 8 years, about transparency, about the environment, because these are the things that really are driving us. Because what we're seeing in this world today is not them and us. We've seen that. Advertising campaigns, for example, are no longer about corporations telling you how to think, because you could destroy that with a single email that gets passed around. It's like, sorry, that's bollocks. So I thought, in all these things that I've done, I've always been a few years ahead. With my involvement with UNEP, United Nations Environment Programme. With Medigo, I was one of the co-authors of one of the first business books that was carbon neutral. At the time people asked me, what the heck is carbon neutral? So if you're a few years ahead, where's a place you can benefit people? Politics. I don't know I actually did not know that my profession was a change agent. I didn't know that. I was only told it this year by a colleague of mine at Medigo, Patrick Harris. And that's what he called me to. Perhaps maybe that is what I am. And maybe that is what I should be doing in politics. I mean, that's why. I entered this mayoral race before Patrick gave me that title. But I thought, goodness me. Because everything I've done is about trying to democratise things. And I take Councillor Pepperell's point too about democracy. So maybe, just maybe, I embody what we think Wellington stands for, a creative city. A creative city that prides itself on punching well above its weight, for the best done city in the world. And a city that punches above its weight in terms of, we're not just competing with Auckland, as the mayor says, we're competing with the world. Let me get on to that a little bit later too. Some of you may have seen a billboard I had. I'm trying not to class the city in billboards, really. But there was one about free Wi-Fi. And I had a very unexpected endorsement about that a couple of days ago from the incumbent and from the Fairfax Press. Which I think there was a disguised full-page ad on the front page. But for one of its sister companies called Trade Me. It's not about appealing to young people, let me just get that cleared out. It is appealing to all of us because, one, it says to the business community, we're open for business in the city and we want to be open to the technology and creative businesses because they are the frictionless ones. They're the ones that don't cause us any more harm to the environment. We can export software and web development and services and skills easily. Second thing is also, so our tourists can come here, check their mobile devices, figure out where to go in Wellington when it comes to restaurants and so forth. And the third thing is transparency. So you can report problems with houses, traffic lights, potholes, whatever you like, without using your expenditure. And it can be done without a penny from ratepayers. And I don't believe that the plan we saw in the Fairfax Press is anywhere near that precise. But we need these connections as well for transparency's sake, because let's face it, Mount Victoria is one of these areas which has suffered from a lack of transparency at the City Council. The district plan is a good district plan, doesn't really get carried out, does it, when it comes to on the ground level by the bureaucrats. And to me it almost says there's something wrong inherently with the way the council is structured presently. That there is almost a culture of fear and with entrenched bureaucrats not getting through the things that we do. So we need to shake up. That's one reason I'm not running for the council. I mean, I know some of you may have read that little quote in the newspaper and I said, did Peter Jackson serve as an apprentice director in Hollywood before he directed his first film? No, we Kiwis just get on with it. I believe we Kiwis do just get on with it. I don't want to be a Jim Hackett. Because the changes that we need to make in council have to come from top down. Because at the moment, I'm not talking about the council laws, I'm talking about the corporation. At the moment, the problems are in that corporation. There are so many of them. And they only understand top down, I'm afraid. So we need some fresh thinking. So there needs to be a real cultural change of inclusiveness. Mr. Dustin referred to seeing me in person rather than on Twitter. I am probably the most connected candidate electronically. Facebook, Twitter, and in the last 51 weeks of this campaign, because I launched in 25 last year, Gesundheit, Mr. Dorgu, I've answered every single question ever posted to me on Facebook, every single question posted to me on Twitter. I already get 3,000 emails a week. I believe, according to the Mayor's own claims, that's 50% more than she gets. I've got 50% power already. Haven't even been elected.
She doesn't answer.
No, she doesn't answer this. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. But here's the thing. We can make, I'll pledge now in front of you to say I'll continue that. But not only that, I want a truly transparent council. One where we webcast council meetings, because we shouldn't have anything to hide. And a city blog too, where you can comment when you want to about the policies that affect you. And so it's more than just lip service. It's about being creative and not reactive. Same 8 letters, but very different outcome. So let me say now that all this applies here to this community, the character of this community, because at the end of the day, Wellington has a brand, and part of that brand is the beauty of Mount Vic and Mount Cook.
1 minute to go, Jerry.
Thank you. I don't agree with losing the community feel of this area. There's a distinct character that's part of who we are. I pledge to retain this community centre because I believe this is a community. We're not an overflow car park for the city. Absolutely not. But here's the thing. Like Councillor Webber, I oppose building another tunnel on Wellington Street because this is where the promise of technology comes in. Let's encourage more teleworking. Let's encourage more flexible working hours because we know this bus tunnel is at capacity. We shouldn't put cars through it. Let's just reduce the traffic. No cars through the bus tunnel. And we don't need more roads. And I certainly don't dislike rail either, but here's what I want to do. Let's get the economy right. Let's grow it with technology by 10 to 15%, which we can do. We then have a case to government to say, let's fund this together. And let's get Wellington right. And let's build together the city that we want.